To folks, welcome to your week. This is So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and if you've heard these past couple of episodes, I know it's been intermittent in my releasing because of my nose and obviously because of the tragedy of the fires. I have talked about that. We will talk about it briefly. I will provide information in a solo form as well as my Instagram as much as I possibly can, but I want to let you know I'm safe. We are ready to go again if we are needed to, but pop culture moves on. I'd love to bring some potential laughter and some happiness and talk about the insanity that is something that I love dearly, reality shows and pop culture, just like you do. Now, Sophie is at a baby shower this week, so she'll be back next week. We love her. We miss her. We've been in communication with her. Her mom texted me today, but guess what? We got one of our favorites. We got a genius of pop culture with us today. His podcast, Gabbing with Gibb, is one of the best Bravo plus pop culture podcasts out there. This man gives just an amazing interview. I learn from him constantly, and I think he is perfect to have for our pop culture roundup today. So, without further ado, the one and only Gibson Johns, welcome back to the show.
Wow, Ryan, I loved the intro. That was very flattering. Thank you. We always have great chats. You were just on my podcast, actually, talking about the year in 2024 for Bravo. And I'm happy to fill in for Sophie. Love Sophie. She's a friend of mine too. So happy to be here. And again, I agree. I think that like when all this stuff is happening, particularly so close to home, sometimes people do need the escapism to just sort of like be able to take them out of it, even just for an hour. So I'm happy to be here.
I need it myself. Like I was so addicted to watching like KTLA News and then TikTok and stuff that when I then did I watched like Pop Culture Jeopardy on Amazon Prime. And for a second I was like, this feels weird to watch something different. And then it kind of got my mind thinking about something different. And sometimes that's even better. Sometimes I'm so thinking about Bravo that it's good to think about something other than Bravo in terms of pop culture.
Totally agree with you. Yeah.
How is it in New York right now? What's the because you guys, by the way, have suffered so many tragedies through the years as well. What's it been like?
I think
in New York?
Like New York, I've been here for some big things, but I was not here like when I think the last big thing in New York was Hurricane Sandy, like the really devastating thing. And I mean, New Yorkers rally. I mean, just like I've seen the people in LA rally, it's like this weekend, even like there's been so many people that are just like stepping up to send donations and clothing and just organizing things. And it's, it's obviously unimaginable tragedy, but there's also, there are silver linings in terms of like finding hope, I think for this society that like honestly sometimes just feels so dystopian and so apocalyptic
and we get to see it in high def. Like it's different because we have these phones in our hands 24/7. And what I always try to impress upon the audience is, be careful with everything that you're reading and seeing because we see so much. And we're so used to seeing it in this bite-sized reality show formats that create stories. And it brings out the worst in people, but also I want to remind you, it brings out the best in people as well, right?
Totally agree. The past couple of days, I've seen things that I saw on social media, like images and things like that. And then I was like, whoa, that is crazy. And then an hour later, it's like that. It's like, FYI, like these photos are fake. There are photos making the rounds. And I think celebrities were sharing photos of like the Hollywood sign literally.
Yes, that was the one that I was pissed off about.
And those are AI. The Hollywood sign is not burned from what we know as of right now. And there are things that are just making the rounds. And
That's the thing, Gibson, it blows my mind because I'm like, God, there are real photos to show people, like of tragedy. It doesn't have to just be the Hollywood sign. I want to point out one story that is so pop culture related and that I also think in this weird way provides such hope. And I want to try to explain and get your thoughts on this is Spencer Pratt, the king of TikTok. Of course, what a curious case in terms of studying pop culture because we know him from the hills and what is, the OG archetype of a reality show villain. And just to think about him and Heidi Montag, their relationship, they're together still. They have a beautiful family and Heidi released an album 15 years ago. 15 years ago to the day, the 11th. And it is sitting, I don't know if it's still sitting, but it was sitting at #1 on the iTunes US, Australia, I believe Canada. It beat Bad Bunny's new album. And this family's house just burnt down, one of the first houses that had burned down in the Palisades fire earlier this week. And I have to tell you, did you follow any of his TikToks or any of his socials?
Yeah, I saw the ones that like, they had gone to a house and they had their kids and they were getting all these supplies sent to them. And then he went back to the site of their house and he was like looking through the rubble of their house and he found like a kid's shovel and there was like a fountain, like some of his gym equipment was like, the thing about Spencer is that he will always find humor in something. And I think that this is a moment in time where like sometimes you just have to like let yourself laugh, even just a little bit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just to let some of the pressure valve out. And like, he is so good at that. And I mean, I was following along. I was absolutely following along.
So Superficial, Heidi's album and song went to number 1. And it was just so, I don't know. I hate to, it's so weird to use the word life affirming, but you take it where you can get it, folks. And I know this argument of celebrities and, these people should be rich and aren't rich or whatever rich. But at the same time, it was like this dude, his whole thing burned up and he was like, dude, I'm sorry. I waited 15 years for Heidi to be number 1. And we think about people like back in the day, Brittany and Justin, how that was like our golden couple that we wanted to be still standing potentially. And 15, here we are. It's Spencer and Heidi. And they lost everything. But just to show everybody out here, you can lose everything and still find humor, still find hope. And we all don't have our number 1 album on iTunes, but we can all give something back to each other.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, obviously Spencer is, he's sort of like the archetype original reality TV villain, but he's also, him and Heidi are also the king and queen of reinvention, and just they're kind of like, they have just stuck around. It's been 20 years since The Hills came out, and like the fact that they are still part of the conversation, that's also there's a little bit of inspiration to be found there, and just like they've adapted with the times. He said that almost all of his income comes from social media now. Yeah, and like, I mean, they're not on TV. They used to have a podcast. They don't have a podcast anymore. Like, they make money through social media. And so like, I guess like I can understand a point of criticism in the way that they've like jumped on the back of this tragedy, but also like they lost their home.
Yeah, but they did have like, they didn't jump on the back. They were forced onto jumping on the back.
Exactly.
They lost their house. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be reminded of that. And like, it's just, they are, it's impressive. It's I don't know. They're so savvy.
It's a study in pop culture, right?
Savvy.
Like it's a study in pop culture and surviving decades, because we know how fleeting fame can be just studying it day in, day out. Now I want to go to the flip side of this, and this is another one that kind of has to make you laugh. Like, you got to laugh through the anger, folks. Is that? And this is like Elton John. I always use Elton John singing Rocket Man as greatest hits. In times of tragedy, yeah, man, Ramona Singer's out there in beautiful Florida going, it's so beautiful out here. The folks in California could only wish they have this. I don't even know why we're surprised that Ramona, it almost warmed my heart that Ramona gave such a tone-deaf post in our time of need.
It's like, just some people don't change,
Never.
A zebra does not change their stripes. And it's just sort of like, I don't think she meant it maliciously. Like people in California wish they live in Florida, but the way it comes off is, I bet people in California wish they live in Florida right now. And it's like, well, this woman is just, and then she's wearing these crazy shades. She looks like she's been in the sun for like a year straight, and the singer Stinger is alive and well. And
but it's like, it is right. You're never going to change Ramona. The thing is, I know she doesn't hate California, even though that is so tone deaf. But when has Ramona not been tone deaf? Now, I'm not saying give her a show, but I am going to say that is the Ramona that we grew up watching. You are somebody that I look to for their takes on Bravo, obviously. And we've got a lot of Bravo that hit us all of a sudden. We had a 2-week vacation over the holidays. My God, at this point, I wish they had made it 3 just so I can catch up. Ooh. But we got everything coming back to us right now. Mm-hmm. Plus the Traitors. Yeah. Let's start with Potomac, because I also really have not talked about the story that Karen Huger has checked herself into rehab, that it was announced by her publicist on the reunion day, because they filmed the Potomac reunion. I think Thursday. I don't know what day I'm in Thursday. Right now.
Yeah, it was on Thursday. 4 days ago.
So first off, your take on Potomac this season, it has been wildly uneven. I really enjoyed it in the beginning. I think it started to fall off for me personally. What was your take on Karen not being at the reunion?
I mean, it's like, I'll say this at first.
Yeah.
You have to respect anybody getting treatment for themselves, I think, just like kind of base level. That being said, and so I'm happy Karen's doing that. I am. Like, clearly there's, when you've gotten 3 DUIs, I think, in the past, like at least two.
I know two.
There's some, yeah, at least 2. There's something going on. And, so I'm happy she's getting treatment. That being said, you can't ignore the fact that the timing of it is like, this crash happened almost a year ago. We've had almost a full season airing, and then she's getting treatment. So the timing is that she gets to miss the reunion. So she doesn't have to fully answer to a lot of the questions that she was going to get from the women and from Andy and from fans. And it also obviously shows the judge in charge of her sentencing that she is, working on herself, and she means this in terms of, self-improvement and getting better. And so I think that can all be true at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
And I think that the one thing that really stuck out to me from the statement that her rep put out was that she was fully supportive in this decision, which means that the network is behind her, which means that we will see her on Potomac in the future. This is not like,
I do not believe Karen is being let go of Potomac in any capacity.
Not. But I think that it was interesting because there was an hour period where Bravo put out the seating chart, and Karen was conspicuously absent from that seating chart. And then an hour and a half later, we get the statement. But in that hour and a half, people were like, "Oh my God, she's fucking done. She's off. Like what a coward!" Like people were going off about it. And then it was like, well,
shocking that we would would jump to anger and conspiracy immediately.
And the rollout was so interesting because I wondered if it was like a 1-2 punch, but like there was that little period where they let her take the hit a little bit in that.
And by the way, they've let others take longer hits than that
totally.
hit. So I thought that was still respectful. But if we look at the Potomac season itself, it's like, what? I mean, are you going to have Gordon and Ink out there then? Like, what stories? I mean, this is only going to be a 2-part reunion then, because I don't think they got enough for 3. No. And will they let Giselle and the other ladies dunk on Karen for not being there?
I'm guessing it's one of those things. I bet you they find out like on the stage that's where she is. I'm sure like Giselle probably knows, but it's not like Karen's keeping Mia updated on her plan. You know what I mean? So like, I'm sure.
Wait, are you telling me these ladies aren't like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants friends for the rest of their lives? Are you telling me that?
I am telling you that, Ryan. And I'm curious if they show footage. I'm sure the footage that we all saw in December. I'm curious if they will show that, if they cleared that footage. I think that we kind of deserve to see it on the show,
yes.
But yeah, I'm not interested in the 2-part reunion that's all about Mia, Gordon, and Ink. I'm not interested in that. And I've talked about this a little bit with people, but like, we've just gotten such wildly different stories from Mia, both on the show and on social media, and it's all telling a different story about like what her relationship situation is. And like, it's so hard to tell fact from fiction with her. And it's so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm kind of at my end point with that.
Yeah, because she might not be with Ink anymore. She posted with Gordon in the new year. It's really just a big old mess, and hopefully Andy can get to some kind of bottom of that. My prediction is they open up next season with the Karen DUI footage, and we get reactions maybe on the stage from the reunion, or maybe like I believe that's how we will open the next season.
Got it.
I want to also point out, though, you guys, from my understanding, what's that?
What if she goes to jail?
That's what I wanted to point out, was that unless this is part of like she probably has amazing lawyers. The rehab obviously is something that needed to happen, but also something that could secure potentially a lighter, reduced sentence. But since this is at least the second time, I truly believe that jail time is really on the table here. So
it is, yeah.
Maybe I hate to say this because I love Karen, deservedly so potentially, but we will see what the court thinks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't know how any of this stuff works, and I feel like, when she was not playing ball and not talking about it on the season, I was like, well,
and actually saying like, oh, the truth will come out.
Right.
Like, girl, you were filmed on every body cam imaginable. Yes, the truth would come out.
I'm like, the whole time I was like, okay, so there has to be some sort of thing that we don't know about, that she knows that it's going to make her look better, or there was a complicating factor that there's no evidence of that. And I don't know. Do they hold production for her if she does face jail time?
Well, I mean, Teresa, they held production, correct?
Yeah.
Right? Back in that
but
day.
I feel like, you know, Teresa's relationship. I mean, obviously, I don't think about Potomac without Karen, but it's not in the same way that you think about like Jersey without Teresa, especially back then. And so, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like such a bad thing that happened, but it could be really good for the show if they handle it correctly in terms of like and also Karen's self-improvement, all these different things. Like it's how I think about like the Kenya situation on Atlanta. I'm like, that was a shitty thing that happened that she did. But like, if they play their cards right in terms of producing and editing that whole situation, it could be great in terms of getting people to watch and see also, what happens next.
Kenya went on record a couple weeks ago saying that she is not done with Atlanta.
Right.
She will be back. So it is really how it's like kind of this weird waiting game. We are savvy as an audience though, so we pay attention to these things. I want to point out though, you got a wild week ahead of you guys, for all of us, not just Angelinos. The 19th is supposedly the TikTok ban, which is still going forward. The 20th, I hear we're having this thing called the presidential inauguration. The 24th I believe the 24th is Karen's sentencing, if I'm not mistaken. So in this next 10 days, we all got to hang on to each other as hard as we can. We're
not up against enough, Ryan. Come on.
There's going to be a lot. I just want to remind. Jesus. Okay, so moving on to other Bravo shows. Southern Charm, Southern Hospitality, they are airing new episodes every Thursday night. Let's start with Southern Charm. Obviously, we are reeling still from the Craig and Paige split. Craig came out this week. By the way, like, I am not a gay man. But I will tell you, I was like, this man looks great.
He did look good in that video.
He looks great. His hair is his hair's on point, and he made this kind of statement of like, I got to take my own advice. I'm doing good. I'm this and that. What did you think of Craig's statement? Because Paige obviously had revealed it on Giggly Squad.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I'm glad he put it up there. It was sort of like, all right, when's he going to do this? I think we all could pick up the fact that Paige was probably the one that ended it.
Yes.
But he obviously confirmed that in this video several times. And
so you're right, several times.
Several times.
Didn't know.
Shocked.
Holidays.
Exactly. And, so that was definitely intentional. Like that was like part of the MO in terms of posting that. And that's his prerogative. Like, Paige didn't tell us that much about like what actually went down. And so to learn that and get that confirmed, I think was like good to hear, I guess. But I'm also glad on the flip side that he at one point was like, treat Paige and I well, like, don't like, I'm glad that he put out like a sort of like an olive branch a little bit in terms of like, because the viewers have been a little bit harsh very harsh, I think, on Paige in terms of like, she led him on. Like, it's been a pretty misogynistic reaction to the split. And so for him to say that, but then also be like, don't be too hard on Paige, I think was really nice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do think, though, it is interesting being a reality star and then having a show that airs after you've continued to live your life. So in this past week's episode, they're playing like house at Craig's place, having a little BBQ, and Craig's storyline is freezing his sperm so one day Paige can have it. And you can then even read where Paige is like, I don't want that shit.
Right,
and it's like,
I know.
You're like,
I know. It's one of those things where now I think it's not as big, it's not as much as like,
Scandival.
Like we're Scandival, or even with like Lindsay and Carl, it's like I don't think we'll see as many cracks, quote unquote, on Southern Charm. I think we'll probably see more on Summer House because there's an emotional moment with Paige's tease in terms of her relationship. But we could pick up on things, and I think that's going to be an interesting kind of layer to this season when it goes forward.
I saw online somewhere, I think it was a Shep post or something, saying that the three, Austin, Shep, and Craig, all got together for dinner a couple of days ago and said that they had a lot of laughs. And somebody was like, oh, so it was fake, your relationship fight? He was like, no, it wasn't fake, but we actually did all get together and have some laughs. So hopefully they'll all go do ayahuasca somewhere together and get through this together as a Southern Charm family.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are brothers, like those guys, like they bicker like brothers, they get back together like brothers, and they'll always sort of have that relationship, I think. And I'm curious to see how Craig moves forward with this almost more than Paige, because I'm like, is Craig gonna lock somebody down quickly and get, you know what I mean? Like I don't.
Yeah, yeah. It's either lock down quickly or like just
or, like,
fully
go
focus
ham.
on business
Right.
even
Oh, yeah.
more.
Yeah, I don't think he'll like get back to partying or anything. But
no, I think that's the one thing he'll like kind of like
stay.
hold to.
Yeah.
The one thing I was shocked about that they didn't edit out was the dinner, the lunch with Shep when Greg was talking about Austin saying, well, he's always zannied out or something. He's all, and I was like, whoa, bro.
Yeah, that was wild.
Like, I love how we accept as a Bravo audience, like drinking, like being like binge drinker is totally fine on Bravo. But when you start putting other substances to names, you start getting like scared.
Yeah. And I feel like that's happened more on Southern Charm than maybe on any other show. I feel like we've heard about Xanax, Adderall. I think they've talked about Coke on the reunion. So like, I'm like, they've talked about it. They've mentioned it all on Southern Charm. They really have.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention Southern Hospitality, which is only 2 episodes into its 3rd season.
Yeah.
I tell you, you guys don't need to even start with the 1st season. Go back to the 2nd season and start there.
Agree.
But I am personally enjoying this. If you're looking to disassociate, I think there is some really great low-level drama, some really great characters that is not obviously early Vanderpump, but not too far off. I mean, not too far off. What are you thinking, Gibson?
I think it's been great. I think that Southern Hospitality is going to have a better season than Southern Charm. I'm like, I think it's already the traction it has this season. 2 episodes in is even further along than Southern Charm is 4 or 5 episodes in, or wherever we are with that season. Like, I think Southern Hospitality, we have a cheating scandal, we have new relationships, we have gay accusations, we have just like, it's just like deep-seated young people drama that like they're kind of just like putting it all out there. And like this past episode was, one of them had a total freak out because she's a manager at the place and she got accused of having all the waitresses buy new dresses for their uniform from another store that she has a deal
store
with.
Credit.
So she's being accused of, she has store credit with, and she's being accused of pocketing the money that the girls gave her to buy the dresses. It's just like this so specific, and she had this huge freak out. And like, I don't know. I love it.
But
I really
that's
love
what great reality show is, when you can have the reaction that Emmy had to being confronted about this, to have Erica Jane mascara running down your eyes to something that could be solved pretty quickly with a quick, no, I didn't do that. To me, that's reality show gold. Like, if we can just imagine when something truly bad happens, then we'll really pop off. But if we can have that over something small, this show's got it all.
Exactly. And I feel like there was a question on whether you could have a Vanderpump style show in the social media age, like where it's just so entrenched in young people. And like, that is such a storyline that wouldn't have happened 15 years ago, 10 years ago, because it is kind of a social media adjacent thing, but it's not too like on our screen, on their phones. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's very much like lived out drama, which I think is like a pleasant surprise, I think, for a show about 23-year-olds.
And another thing I want to remind people is that you've got connections to the Bravo universe. Obviously, Taylor, she hangs out with TJ. TJ's this great kid. I got to meet him in person. I like that dude a lot.
He's great.
But you also have the Joe Bradley hooking up with Countess Luann, but also dating Danielle from Summer House. And Joe Bradley is now with Maddie, the DJ, who he's always had a long thing for. But there are certain elements of, is TJ bisexual? Is Joe Bradley bisexual? TJ is said, like, there's a lot of things happening that I think really is this kind of like younger audience of what these kids are going through that is like Vanderpump today.
Yeah, 100% all of that. And I think that the Luann storyline is like, that could be its take into sort of like cementing its place in this ecosystem. Because like, you know, we complain a lot as Bravo fans that like these shows, they get 2 to 3 seasons, then we say goodbye to them. You know, they don't get long lives, all the new shows. And like, this is a good one. So like, if people are listening and they're a little skeptical, like if we want this show to stick around, I think the 3rd season is very much like a make or break it season for a Bravo show. And like, they're showing us everything. And so if you're curious about it, tap in, because I think it's good for us as like Bravo fans to have a new show to really latch on to.
Okay, let's before we go back to Bravo, let's go over to Peacock really quick, because on Thursday we were blessed with the first 3 episodes of the 3rd season of The Traitors. They are back. We've got it all in play. There's 10 episodes in total. They'll start releasing 1 per week starting this Thursday, but you have 3 to catch up on. We are talking spoilers here, and I did an episode with Bergie, who was on last season of The Traitors. to talk overall things. But what are your thoughts so far on these first 3 episodes and characters?
I mean, nobody doesn't like the Traitors. It is such a damn good show. And I'm saying that even as they're trying to pick off the Housewives one by one, which is hurting my heart.
But I think that's a dumb gameplay. I think it's very dumb.
Well, it's very ironic because it's these competition legends that like they're trying to show the Bravo people that like this is our castle, you know, like this is a game, this is our territory, and meanwhile they're just like latching on to people who like. And trying to hide behind Housewives who aren't that great at this. Like find another target. Pick off each other. You know what I mean? There are a lot of competition legends in that castle. Go for them. It's just kind of lame, I think. And like it's also, as a viewer, it's selfishly robbing us of great TV, having Dorinda be the first one murdered. I'm so upset about it. I'm so upset.
I mean, that's it, Gibson. It hurt my heart to have Dorinda go first because first off, I know she wants to be there. Oh, when you saw her pick up that letter, Dorinda feels things deeply, as we all know. Now, of course, she probably went a little too hard in the paint when we already got a Dorinda being angry scene after she was left out on those docks. But that's what we love Dorinda. And so, of course, I would have wanted her to hold that in, but that's not Dorinda. But what a dumb move, because you could have kept Dorinda there, and you could have kept thinking we can misdirect people over to Dorinda for another couple of weeks, right?
Exactly. And part of me also sort of wonders if subconsciously the competition players saw what Phaedra did to so many people last season at the round table, which is basically a reunion stage. And she eviscerated Pilot Pete. She eviscerated Dan. She had so many amazing moments that I almost wonder if subconsciously they didn't want to be on the receiving end of that from a housewife this season. And Dorinda would be the most likely candidate. So
most likely, yes and no, because Phaedra can be like a funny Shakespeare at times. Dorinda can make points, and there's an anger that sometimes takes hold with Dorinda, where sometimes you dislike. She's not sometimes saying the right things at the right time.
For sure.
Where Phaedra is like a laser. So yes and no, but Bob the drag queen is kind of filling in that Phaedra spot. But I almost feel like he's had to go too hard in the paint by the 3rd episode because Dylan Efron, Zac Efron's brother, is filling that Pilot Pete role and is all of a sudden wait a sec, I think it's this dude. And he had to argue himself out of that situation, but he did it so well, so good, that I think he shot himself in the foot. What do you think about it?
I know. I think that Bob and Dan, I also pay attention to the edit on this show a lot because it's sort of they're showing the heat on Bob and Danielle a lot. They're the 2 traitors who are doing the most, and they're really kind of networking in those rooms and
Danielle's doing it by tears and by empathy.
Yeah.
Bob's doing it by strength and how dare you accuse me.
Totally. And either way, they're drawing attention to themselves in a big way, and we're seeing that already 2 to 3 episodes in. And to me, that makes it seem like the faithfuls are going to catch one of them pretty soon. That's what I feel like. I think
in the 4th episode,
they're showing us too much of this already. Yeah.
Dude, exactly. Yeah. And I will say, my dark horse, I love Bob the drag queen just because I have not been familiar with his work that much up to this point, and I just love to hear this guy talk. So I'm downloading podcasts that he's been on just because he's making me laugh. But I will say, I'm somebody that watches every season of Survivor, and to have Carolyn as a traitor, I love her so much, and I just love it because she's smarter than you will ever give her credit for. She knows how she comes off, which is actually her natural way of being kind of nervous and fidgety, and that's how she is, but she knows that she can also use that. Her reality, she can use that, but she's smart as a whip, and the traitors are already fighting with each other. What do you think about Carolyn?
She was an inspired pick to be a traitor, I think. She's almost like this walking deflection from being a traitor, because people don't know what to do with her, that you can't put her in a box. She's always going to give you who told her that you're so fidgety, somebody even said that to her to her face. And so she's the perfect pick for a traitor. I think if you're thinking a producer, which is what I was thinking about a lot last year, which is who is an obvious pick for a traitor? Boston Rob, kind of similarly to how Parvati was last year. I'm if he's kind of obvious, and I think my biggest gripe, and obviously I'm a little biased because I'm coming from that Bravo perspective. I do watch all the competition shows, but I'm they could have had a Bravo traitor, even if it wasn't a housewife. It's just, otherwise there's nobody there to defend them. And so they're just going to be picked off. And so I mean, otherwise, I think they did a pretty good job picking the traitors.
I do think I completely agree with you. I will say Boston Rob, though, they gave that dude an uphill battle to climb because he's won so much. He's a competition reality legend. And then to make him a traitor on top of that, this dude has like, not that he can't do it, but like, I would vote this guy out regardless if I thought he was a faithful or a traitor, just because he's been like, he just knows his way so far. And Wes, by the way, who's a faithful, this guy lied to my face when he was on my show a couple months ago because of House of Villains. He was like, no, because I was like, you got to be on the Traitors. He's like, no, I'd never do that show. We're going to put that clip out because it just made me laugh so much. But I think it's just, guys, it's just a great show to disassociate with. I disagreed with you about one thing, though, Gibson. I read this, and I was like, oh, I'll talk to you about this on the show. Now, Sierra Miller from Summer House is on.
Oh, okay.
Now, in the first 3 episodes, Sierra has maybe said 2 or 3 things. Like, she has not been involved in the action. She has not. And you, I believe, I think you had posted this somewhere. Maybe Threads is saying that I think this is part of the edit. I think she's going to come on strong. I think they're purposely holding her back in the edit because she's going to come on strong later. Is that's what you meant, right?
Yeah. I basically think that like, because there are some people who they've shown literally nothing. Like Britney Spears' ex, he's gotten zero airtime after the car ride to the place. So like Sierra, at least they've shown like a comment at a round table. They've shown her like, and so I think, and it's sort of how they showed a little bit of MJ at the beginning of last season. MJ maybe got a little more, but like, I just think that if they're showing you a little bit, you're probably at least getting halfway through. That's sort of my thought. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm just hopeful for Sierra, but that's sort of how I feel. And that doesn't mean she's going to win, but
now let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I loved that thought because I, after this past season of Summer House, became a huge Sierra stan. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like seeing that relationship with West and how she handled herself in that gave me a new respect for Sierra. But sometimes Sierra needs somebody that's louder than her, like a Paige or even a West, to be able to actually then kind of see who she is. If she doesn't have that person, even though she's making alliances, she can sometimes be relegated to the back. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see the edit. My fear is that she's not going to have anybody to be a Paige or a West, so we can actually see who she really is, because she's not used to stepping forward herself, which will help you out in the game. They'll keep her further along in the season because she's just somebody that might not make that much of a difference. So let's keep her. That's my
I think that could easily be the case, especially because like if you compare what she's gotten much less airtime than like Gabby and Chrishell so far, and even Nikki Bella, or whatever her last name is right now. Like those 3 are calling themselves the Bambis, and I think that even that we're getting that alliance name. Like they're kind of getting a lot of confessional moments. We saw Chrishell read Sandoval for Filth, great moment. Like they are getting more airtime than Sierra is, and she's not part of that group. And so maybe they are the ones who are going to really like move in on some of these legends. It feels like they're setting those women up to at least like take a swing at somebody. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking, and I think you're a fashionable man, I personally am not, is in terms of fashion for 2025, are huge pit stains coming back in?
If you believe Tom Sandoval, then I think that you think that. But I think we've learned from the past 2 years that we shouldn't believe anything Tom Sandoval is pushing forward. So, I'm not too sure about that one, but they're definitely making an appearance.
Well, we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of Sandoval, and I just love, this is what I was telling the audience when they were like, how dare they put Sandoval? I'm like, no, it's going to be great television because you're going to be able to laugh, and he thinks he knows everything. So we're getting like silent film star Sandoval, where he's giving looks, and he's like, dude, when they put the blindfold, I was looking at everybody, dude. Like, to me, that's what these shows are so great, because you get to laugh along because he's been so wrong so far, and that's what we love. And even Alan Cumming's like, do you not like to be betrayed, Tom? Like, he's getting poked at by Alan, and these are all just amazing little moments. And I did want to point out to the audience, because a lot of people seem to forget that Alan Cumming in an interview said months ago that Tom Sandoval's luggage was lost the first couple of days of Traitors.
Oh,
so the shirt that you see him in, that he's sweating in, is not even his own shirt. And so if you know Sandoval, he's livid. Just like when he saw his photo up there in that breakfast room, he's like, I look like a prisoner, dude. Like, those aren't even his clothes. So he was pitting out in clothes that he didn't plan on wearing. So I wanted to mention that. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to, I believe, Sam Stryker, who does Alan Cumming's wardrobe for the Traitors. It's another thing that Bergie was talking about in just terms of like Alan Cummings as a host is just so, I know it sounds douchey for me to use the word delicious, but it's the word that comes to my mind. Like, I just love that man so damn much. He makes a competition reality show fun to watch, just like Jeff Probst has his own thing, and they all have their own things. Great. You love him as much as I do?
I was thinking about Jeff Probst a little bit too, because I was like, he's not just like putting on a good performance as a host. It feels like he's really invested and involved in it. And like he's actually helping to make decisions in a way that I actually believe, and like that's the sign of a great host and somebody who is like in it for the long haul. Like, I feel like Alan Cumming would do 10 seasons of the show and he'd be totally happy doing it. He has so much fun. He's into it. And there are some people who host and you're just sort of like, why are you there? And Alan Cumming is like, he is so additive to it. That is, it'd be hard to imagine this version of the show without him.
Exactly. It adds to the special sauce. And I also, if you love the Traitors, this version of it, I want to also recommend the UK version as well, which doesn't really have celebrities. Their host is a great host as well. And they started airing their new season overseas. We'll probably get it on Peacock probably pretty soon. But if you just like gameplay, I highly recommend the UK version that you can stream on Peacock as well. Because it's just really great gameplay.
Season 2 of that was amazing. Truly a great season.
Truly so good. Okay, we're going to go back to Bravo in one sec, but I want to hop to film. We just had the Golden Globes this past, it's Sunday right now.
1 week ago. What crazy. Oh my God, Gibson, I can't believe. I'm sure you can't even like imagine.
If you tell me we're in 2026 right now, I'd believe you. Okay, so I guess the Golden Globes were last week. Nikki Glaser killed it as a host. That was my favorite part. She was on Stern the next day and she gave all these jokes that they didn't use. And not just her, she has this amazing team of writers that she like Lauren Greenberg and I'm blanking on all the names, but they're just, Ian. Anyways, they're just a great group of writers. But a lot of movies are out there right now that you might not know your way around. Amelia Perez, which is on Netflix streaming, was a huge winner that night. I have still not been able to see that because it's been a little crazy this week. I still have not seen A Complete Unknown, and I really want to see that one in the theaters. What have you seen so far, Gibson, in terms of award movies?
I've seen a lot. Amelia Perez I'm putting off because I've heard that it's long and weird, and I feel like I need to have like a night or an afternoon where I'm really like in the mood for something like that. But I try to watch
Gibson, when you watch a movie, will you... I know with TV shows, sometimes we'll pause and walk away and do something. When you watch a movie, do you pause and go do something, or do you make sure you sit through the whole thing from start to finish?
I think I'll sometimes pause like halfway through to go to the bathroom, but otherwise I'm trying to be locked in for a movie. I also go to the theater a lot solo in New York. That's like one of my favorite like things to do on the weekend. But I've seen a lot. Like I've seen Conclave, great movie, loved it. Honora, amazing movie. I saw The Brutalist, which is a 3.5 hour.
And they have an intermission that they put in The Brutalist, you guys. That is coming up as a dark horse, and especially with Adrian Brody winning Best Actor at the Globes, because a lot of people were thinking Chalamet has a very good shot, and now all of a sudden people are talking The Brutalist. What did you think of The Brutalist?
It's one of those movies where it's like, it's a great movie. It's an incredible feat of filmmaking, but the second half, like it's kind of a mess, I think, a little bit in the second half, but he's so good. Like he plays this guy over the course of like 35 years of his life, and it's just like,
I didn't realize it spanned that much time.
Like him getting to New York after the Holocaust and then like up through like the end of his career, basically. So it's really like a layered, beautiful movie. Like it's not my favorite one I've seen all year, but he's really amazing. I saw Complete Unknown. I'd be happy with either of them winning, but I don't know about you, but sometimes with the Oscars, like I feel like it's such an opportunity for them to like, obviously we know Timmy is the next gen movie star, but like to really like get that crown and sort of be officially sort of, cemented as that by getting an Oscar, sort of how Jennifer Lawrence was for I'm blanking.
Well,
on
she
the
did a
movie.
string, American Hustle, Joy.
One for though. Like Silver Linings Playbook. Like I'm just like, you know what? I want Timmy to win because I think that would be such a great moment and would really solidify him as the future. And we all know that it's not a surprise, but I'd love if he won. He was so impressive and he just really disappeared into it.
I'd love if he won. First off, I've told the audience I had a Bob Dylan phase in my 20s, so I'm very well read and like listened to. So I just can't wait to see this from a Bob Dylan perspective. But for somebody that loves movies, I've loved movies so much since I was a kid. I want him crowned because I still want to believe in movie stars. And I know that sounds crazy, you guys. I know that sounds, but I want to believe that we can still have full-blown movie stars. And this guy wants it. You can tell. He's picking smart moves. You got box office with Dune 1 and Dune 2. The people he's choosing to work with. He's not taking the big paydays. I mean, you can argue by Dune 3, he'll have a nice-sized paycheck for that. He hasn't done the superhero route yet because DiCaprio told him not to, allegedly. But he's doing these films. The Bob Dylan, it took him 5 years to prepare for this film. And there is something that I geek out about that kind of stuff so much. Now, the interesting part about Timothy is also the promotion of a movie, the stories we tell. Just like I was saying, the story that Spencer and Heidi are telling right now, it gets at our hearts. It makes us think how we can give. The story that these Golden Globes and awards in general, it's a story they're trying to tell. So what story is Timothy trying to tell? We're going to find out, interestingly enough, in a different way, because he is signed up to host for SNL the last week of January, not only as the host, but the musical guest.
I was really excited. I think that's very smart. It's reminding people of like everything that he did for that role. You know what I mean? Like it's going to show his versatility. And I saw some tweet that was like, you know, this could go one or two ways. Like this could just cement his Oscar, or it could totally backfire. And like, I don't know.
Could you imagine if a sketch on SNL takes away his chances of an Oscar?
What way is this going to backfire? You know what I mean? It's not like he'll like sound terrible in the musical performance.
What if he has it? Wait, Gibson. What if he has an Ashley Simpson moment and he's lip syncing and he's like da 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 da?
Don't even manifest that, Ryan. Oh my god!
Could you imagine?
Honestly, Timmy would handle that well, and he would probably even gain him more votes and more sympathy from people. No, but I'm thrilled that he's doing this. I think it's a very smart campaign move, and I think, as you said, like Adrian won that Golden Globe, and like it complicates, I think, the Oscar run a little bit, and like this is a great opportunity for Timothy to jump ahead again, I think.
Well, and if you compare it to something, and this is not political, but a political campaign, the Oscars are like a political campaign.
Yeah.
So it's all about that story. And I will say, no matter how good of Adrian Brody's performance is in The Brutalist, when he got up there on that stage, he made a beautiful speech. Woo! He also won a Critics' Choice Award this past week, made a beautiful speech, talked about the fires. And I'm not saying he does not mean every word he says. I'm just saying when you hear that, you get inspired. You think, I want to go see that movie. Ooh, I want to vote for him. So now it's this thing in the next couple of months that happens every year in Los Angeles, really pre-pandemic for the most part. There's a great book called Oscar Wars by Michael Schulman that I recommend to everybody if you're fixated like I am on award shows, that really breaks down the Oscars. But the fires now, I think, is going to change everything in terms of the awards. The Academy Awards, I think they're holding off on their nominations for another week. So everything's in a flurry. But usually this time of year, it would be full campaign amongst all these actors. Do you think, I was reading some ridiculous think pieces. Yeah, actual think pieces. If Kylie Jenner was going to hurt Timothée Chalamet's chances at an Oscar.
I don't think they're gonna hurt his chances. I do think, in terms of, you're talking about the story that sort of comes out of these moments, and like right now, the most recent, there were so many breakout stories about Kylie and Timmy from the Golden Globes. Like it was like the kiss, it was her taking a picture of him, it was them skipping the carpet, but
Demi Moore didn't talk to her in that one moment.
Exactly. And like that is kind of the narrative right now with Timmy. And so I think SNL is actually really crucial from that perspective. It's like, wait a second, no, this is not about Kylie, and they're so private otherwise. So it's so interesting to me that every year they go to the Golden Globes together, which is a very hobnobby public award show, more so than others. And so I don't think it hurts his chances. I do think that like there's definitely like a faction of people that like almost like disappointed in him by being in this relationship. I'm not one of those people. But like,
which by the way, I want to give a shout out to Club Chalamet online. She lost her house this week, unfortunately. So our hearts go out to her. She did. She lost her house this week, but she is also somebody that's been very vocal and she's kind of learning to accept that they are in a relationship, which is so weird about being in pop culture, the parasocial relationships we all deal with, and obviously Club Chalamet, but our hearts go out to her. But yeah, it's wild that people really have very strong thoughts about this.
That's such now that I'm thinking about this, I'm like, God, if Timmy like stepped in to help Club Chalamet, like what a moment that would be. You know what I mean? Like that could.
But Gibson, he kind of can't though, because it almost then would take that relationship to a weirder parasocial place. Yeah,
I agree with that.
He might be able to do it through intermediaries, like, hey, Leo, why don't you donate to her? Like, you know, like Ben Affleck, you donate to her.
Yeah, totally.
And guys, we're joking right now, but I do want to let you know I will keep all week posting GoFundMes and things like this once I can verify information, which that's another thing. Is we want to make sure we verify and don't throw people to the wrong places. But we will need help for the next year, not just this next week, but the next year, and pray for the wins tonight. Now, back to Bravo. I got an hour, so I'm sorry I'm speaking fast and I want to get all this in. We have 2 shows I want to talk about, even though there's so many great shows out right now. Beverly Hills and Salt Lake. Where do you want to go first, Gibson?
Let's just go to Beverly Hills. Let's do that.
Okay. Yeah. Beverly Hills. What kind of memes do you think PK has sent Kyle this week?
Oh my God. Do you think he's still sending them? You think
Kyle, I'm not supposed to be sending you this, but it's a funny meme. Here you go. Like, could you believe that you heard memes that much on an episode of Beverly Hills with Kesha there?
I mean, I honestly can, because my mom sends me reels like 20 times a day.
Sorry, my own blood came out of my nose. Sorry.
So you know what, and you know, they're younger than my mom, but not by too much. So I think that's what people do. And but
isn't it funny to think about the thing that we all do ourselves? They're doing with each other, and then you're like, that is weird, and then you're like, I wonder what their definition of a meme is. And I was waiting for Dorit. I did this in my silly recap. I was like, is Dorit like, I'll send a meme to Mo, and it's just a shot of her boobs, you know, just like a naked shot. Like, is this not what a meme is?
Is this for a meme? Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, and also like, I'm like, okay, Kyle says she's communicating with him because he's sending her a meme. So is she just like, you know, is he DMing it to her and she's just liking it? Is she like, LOL? Is she like,
Gibson, didn't you want to shout out?
LOL, how are you doing? You know? Yeah.
Well, my shout out was, pull your phone out right now. Let's see it. Pull your phone out right now. Let's scroll through. Like, why couldn't we say, like, did Alex Baskin stop that from happening? Because I'm like,
I know,
pull your because you would love to see what was going on. Because what if they were memes about like, this is what it's like to date a rich stuck-up biatch, you know? And it's like, what if they were pointed towards Dorit, you know?
Also, it would have been even better if like, because you know that Kyle was probably like, no, I'm not sending you that screenshot. If he had gone to PK and gotten the screenshot from his perspective, you would have seen the memes like on the right side of the screen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my God, this Gibson, we need to produce something together. This is exactly what we need, because that was the thing that was so screaming in my head. But it was a great episode, but obviously a weird season. I wanted to get your take. Obviously, Bose is another person that lost her home in the fires, and God. I mean, I am so loving getting to know Bose, and we are just at the tip of the iceberg. And I hope she decides to do another season, because it is interesting. She says with Dorit likes to talk and I like to listen, so it's perfect. But also then she has that situation with Sutton, where Sutton hates to be taught new words and taught words like weaponize and
violate.
And violate. And you saw this great shot of the Viper Room with Bose talking to Dorit, and in the background you saw Garcelle. You know, you saw Garcelle overhearing this conversation, and I was wondering what your take is on Garcelle this season.
Yeah, somebody said to me recently that their read on it is that it's sort of it's planting the seeds for it to be Garcelle's last season. Somebody said that that's their read on it, because she's getting this really flowery personal storyline where it's like, I'm working on all these movies, I'm producing and I'm starring in them. I have my beach house. My son has figured it out, and I have a grandkid, and I'm so happy. And like, there's no really friction in Garcelle's personal life from what we see on the show, you know? And like, she's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out in a lot of the conflict. I think like she steps in sometimes, but she's not always that engaged. And I don't know. And I had not thought of it in that way before I talked to somebody about this. And I was like, you know what? Like I could see that, and I think that like Garcelle is somebody who came in with a lot of heft and a lot of like weight in her name, but Real Housewives has absolutely revitalized her career too, and she's so much more prevalent in pop culture than she was before, and so it's one of those things where it's like I think that she can probably skate by on this Real Housewives thing if she leaves the show for a while still, and kind of still get a lot of opportunity. I love her, but I don't think she's having the best season. I really don't.
I love her as well. I also want to ask: was the person that you were talking to, was that Kyle Richards? No. But I did my recap earlier. I said a similar thing in that, there's only so many times we can hear, even though it's very true, that you are proud of where you are in your life.
Right.
Unfortunately, being, there's only so many reliable narrators we can have. And if Bose takes that role as a reliable narrator, Crystal was also in that role as well. But Garcelle's in this weird spot because she can't really come at Dorit anymore because Dorit is coming at everybody, and this is her season to really throw down. So it's hard to have. So I am wondering, it puts her in this kind of weird, murky, gray area. But at the same time, I love her. That story she told about not opening the door for her son was heartbreaking.
Right. Wow.
What a powerful story, but I'm so curious. Sutton is one of those people, she's not Ramona, but she's nowhere near Ramona, but there is this element of, do you know what I'm saying? There is this element.
Yes. She has not learned everything. You know what I mean? She still has a little bit to learn, I would say. And, there's a little bit of there's sometimes a tone deafness. There's sometimes a like lack of awareness
that she catches up to eventually.
Exactly. Like I think that's the difference. I don't think Ramona actually wants to learn anything new. I don't think she actually wants to improve because she thinks she's perfect. Yeah. I think that Sutton kind of thinks she's perfect, but she has an open ear to newness and like to evolving. I think it's a little slower than other people. You know what I mean? But I think that's what we love about Sutton as well. But I think she has a good heart ultimately. You know what I mean?
100%. Did it warm your heart as well to have Erika Jayne just saying a couple hype words on stage at the Viper Room? Like, it's Loved like, it. I love that about having a whole event for one song to have Erika Jayne just like, what's up, everybody? All right. Domino. And by the way, this is such a great trope in Housewives. We see this in so many franchises of like one song event. I love that it was at the Viper Room. Mm-hmm. I love that Sutton's glam team was shocked that she had never been to the Viper Room. I'm like, why would you be shocked? Like, why would you be shocked?
Why is Sutton rolling up to the Viper Room? Right, exactly.
Before we move to Salt Lake, your take on Erika Jayne this season?
Yeah, I really like Erika Jayne this season. I think she's having a pretty solid season. I think that her position of being in the middle of Kyle and Dorit is very natural and very, I think, authentic to her reality. She doesn't have like the most going on in her personal life, but I think that like, she's in the rebuilding era of her life. And I think she's doing a pretty good job of like image maintenance and like, getting fans back sort of on her side. And like, yeah, there's still shit going on. And I think when it comes to what she went through, all those legal things, but ultimately, as you said, kind of like with Garcelle, we got to move forward. And I think that like, we can't harp on that with Erika for too much longer. And so I'm glad we're not. And ultimately, like she, to me, is very essential to Beverly Hills at this point. And, I'm really enjoying her this season.
I just want that designer back. Erika, this is we're gonna get you so fucked in this room, Erika. Oh my god, Erika, this is gonna be beautiful out here. I love that dude so much.
Yeah, that was a good scene. It really was.
And finally, I know the Emmys are along far. I don't know when the next Emmys are, but whenever they are, I know best television show for me will be Real Housewives of Salt Lake City in its fifth and best. I never thought I would say this best season. I have not done my recap yet for this week due to the fires and my surgery, but Gibson, I finally got to watch it. And I have to tell you, we haven't had a flop episode of any time this season.
No, I mean, if you think about the run they've had all season, but really since like even like the Milwaukee trip, like there has not been a bad episode.
They made Milwaukee interesting.
No, oh my God, Milwaukee, Mary's lunch, Meredith bat mitzvah. This entire trip has been insane. Like it is just banger after banger after banger, and it's not just like one note either. This past episode, Ryan, on one excursion on one trip. So let's say it's like maybe an 8-hour span of time. they're in the Sprinter van and they have the whole thing about Britney recording, calling her out, screaming match, everybody against one. So many quotables in that one moment.
It's too much. Like my brain, I was suffering from a headache trying to do a recap, and I was like, I can't do this yet because it reminded me of classic Roni when 4 things are happening at once and they're all good things.
Chaotic. Then they go on the ATVs, then they go jump off waterfalls, and then they have this pivot where it's like they're all in tears talking about the shame of Mormonism and how it impacts their sexual life.
Brittany admits she's done a little more with Jared Osmond than she admits.
They have done the deed.
And she took it so seriously that your heart, then everybody started tearing
up. And Heather
was
like, girl, I know exactly what you're talking about. And Mary's like, girl, like, no. Like, and so it's like, oh my God. And then they're back and they're looking for listening devices. They can do it all. These women.
Dude, Lisa checking Meredith's room for like Heather checking Meredith's room for like if it was bugged or not. And the fact is, there's so many layers of humor when they're in that Sprinter van with Britney recording, because on like Meredith clocks in like, are you recording me? And the angle looks like Missy Misdemeanor Elliott in those
angle,
old videos.
Ryan, the angle.
Fisheye was insane.
Oh my God, that was instantly iconic. Just the angle itself.
It reminded me of the Jen Shaw Sprinter van moment from Beauty Lab and Laser. It's like those iconic moments we're going to make.
I'm ashamed I had you in my home. Enough with the dishonesty. It's like
And also on top of the fact that the funniest part of all of it is they're literally filming with cameras. Like they're filming the whole conversation with cameras. Totally. I do understand the privacy element of it because they are still so in shock with the reality Von Tease of it all. But this is what you want. People committed, people clocked in, people that are just like Alan Cumming. People that are like, you recording me is the end of the world. And I'll fight you for it.
And Bronwyn was in that front row of chairs, and she was like getting up out of her, when you like get so excited, you have to like kind of get your feet off the ground and onto the chair. That's what she was doing. And she was like, okay, Steve Jobs, like blah, 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 blah. Like she was getting so like physically excited because she was so into it. And then Whitney, I don't know if you noticed this.
Whitney was laughing.
She was laughing, looking at the producers off camera because she was like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. Like it had it all. As you said, wherever you looked, there was something happening. Mary saying, get her, Meredith. Like, heaven,
dude, that's what I'm saying. Heaven. You can watch an episode of Salt Lake 3 or 4 times and you will notice something different depending on who you follow. And that's the biggest compliment, because that's what I used to do with early seasons of Real Housewives in New York. When I started this podcast, I used to say, Bravo, I'll pay you extra if you just give me the audio mic feeds for each person so I can play a DJ and raise and lower it, because they're all having separate conversations. But these ladies, even though they might not like each other or like each other to varying degrees, together they have formed something bigger than the sum of its parts, which we want in reality TV. Yes. This season, even if you haven't watched it, it will be there for years to come. You will catch up to it, and I'm telling you, you might need it now more than ever. I am sad to report that this Wednesday is the season finale of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and then we will have a 3-part reunion. Do you think, I don't know if you have any pull with Andy Gibson, but is there any way you could get him just to throw together like another? I'll watch them just on the toilet at this point. I'll take anything.
Like, look, where's the blooper, the deleted scenes? I think they honestly.
Secrets revealed.
I think they should have given us a secrets revealed. I really do. Maybe I do know one person who's a producer on that show. I will text him and be like, are we going to get a secrets revealed? Because I'm with you. Like there has to be. There's probably enough footage that they did not use on this season of The Real House of the Salt Lake City season 5 that would make for a better season than Roni season whatever 2.
I'm so sorry that I didn't bring up Roni in this past hour. I'm still watching it. I'm sorry. I want to support. I'm sorry that I haven't brought it. I'm sorry.
I do not need the apology. Let's just say that. But the quality, they must have had to cut so much good shit.
But just them even getting into Sprinter vans is entertaining for me to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like them just getting in. So text your friend and say, hey, Ryan had to evacuate once. He's going through shit. He had a sinus surgery. Weird things are coming out. He really could use just people, entrances and exits. That's all I need. Entrances and exits.
I think it could solve the world's problems. It really, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. We gotta find laughter at times like this.
I'm with you.
Okay, I didn't get to bring up Demi Moore, but I wanted to mention in terms of the substance, because I just wanted your take on the substance, what you thought of it. I know that's
you talked about Adrian Brody's speech. Demi Moore's speech is perhaps going to get her the Oscar, and she's up against people like Nicole Kidman and Angelina Jolie, Cynthia Erivo, the women from Amelia Perez, which I have not seen yet. Like, that speech is one that will stick with you. It's one that tells her story. It's like, this is my first award ever in my 45-year career. It just everything, and also the themes of the movie sort of are also in line with the themes of Demi Moore's career, and like, it's kind of a perfect storm in a way. And the substance, like, I she was incredible in it, and
it's a different movie.
I loved the movie until the end, which I'm not going to spoil for anybody, but the end, I thought that, like, I understood what it was, but it lasted for about 7 minutes too long at the end.
I understand exactly what you mean.
Yes.
It's streaming on Mubi, M-U-B-I right now, but if you can't go to see it in the theaters, but it's a trip, you guys. It's Cronenberg, David Lynch. It's body horror. But if talking about stories, Demi Moore, like, in going into that night, I thought Cynthia Erivo had it in the bag for everything. After that night, I said, holy moly, Demi Moore just might have gotten herself the Oscar, because I also want to point out, she also used to be married to Bruce Willis, and they still have an amazing relationship, even though he is going through what he is going through. That also is part of Hollywood lore and legend and storytelling. So that is going to be brought up as well. There are so many feel-good, positive stories about people finding their way and women finding their way, which is what we talk about in the Housewives and what we want to say. So absolutely. Demi Moore, strong chance of winning at this point.
Strong chance. And then even you see the clip at the morning after of the daughters reacting, and it's just like, oh my God, like that helps. You know what I mean? Like, that adds to the lore and the world building around her this season. So I hope she wins, to be honest, because I'd love to see another speech. I'd love that. That's what I want.
I know,
you know,
right?
That's what voters vote for.
That was my complaint about the Golden Globes, is sometimes they were going up there. I'm like, you're actors. Even if you didn't think you're going to win, I want to see a performance now. Like, I didn't used to be like, I want to see, like, put something together. Like,
give me some theatrics. Exactly.
Yeah, you're auditioning for Juilliard right now. Come on. Guys, we all won today because Gibson Johns is with us and was with us. And I want to point you guys, amplify. Gabbing with Gibb is the podcast. This thing, you're going to want to subscribe. I know you're already subscribed, but if you're not, why not? Go subscribe. Then what you're going to want to do, even before listening to one episode, you're going to hit 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You're just going to do that on the basis that we are a family, that we push for each other, that we pull for each other. And this guy, I'm telling you, gives the best interviews. He will walk you through things in such a way that it will make you laugh. It'll inspire. It will motivate you to continue to tune in to these stories that we love to watch week in, week out. What else is coming up for you in terms of the podcast? Oh, also go subscribe to his Substack. I'll put that in there as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, like, such kind words. I agree. It's like that we're in this supportive group of people, I think, and like, it's, you know, where our podcasts are all on the same chart, but I think a rising tide lifts all boats. But we
all love the same thing. Like, exactly. I think we're the same. We never want to do a podcast where we're making fun of other podcasters or fighting with other podcasters. No,
that's not
I want to be fucking highlighting other podcasters and making sure I know the cool shows to watch. And I sometimes get that from Gibson, and that's what I value more than anything. So really what is coming up for the show?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, like, a lot of the bookings, and you know this, it's like the fires. I don't know how that impacts everything, but I'm supposed to record this week with Crystal and Cynthia, who have a podcast together now, and I think that picking Crystal's brain a little bit about this season of Beverly Hills would be really interesting. And so I hope that happens. You know, knock on wood. Who knows? I'm also supposed.
I will say I was texting with Crystal a couple days ago, and she was showing me pictures from where, and I just pray. I mean, she's obviously, and a lot of the area she's in, a lot of the families are out there, but I will listen to that episode when he does it, because I do want to say her and Cynthia's podcast, I don't get to listen to a lot of podcasts, but I've listened to a couple of theirs and I really like it.
Oh yeah. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Because it's also like, you know, they announce it. It's just, there's a lot of duo housewife podcasts. And so it's hard to stand out, but I'm glad to hear that that's sticking out to you. It's just, I'm in that 2025 planning mode, but plans are going out the window. So we're just kind of rolling.
We're only 10, 11 days in, and I thought I was just going to be recovering from this surgery and getting back to work, and it's all changed. Give us 2 things that you're watching that are not Bravo that we should be watching.
2 things that are not Bravo that I'm watching,
or as many as you want.
I'm 1 episode into the Jerry Springer doc on Netflix, which is like, it's not very good, but like, am I enjoying the walk down memory lane? Yes. You know what I mean?
It celebrates a time and place that we were all a part of, and I love that it's a 2-part docuseries on Netflix. That's out there right now. So I felt the same way.
I I was, I thought that I was at the end of my rope with the real estate reality shows, and I actually really liked Selling the City. I'm sorry, I really did.
Okay, that's what I see. I have not started yet.
I did not watch the Ryan. I didn't
show.
watch the Ryan Serhant one because I was definitely at the edge of my rope. But people kept saying, "No, you should watch Selling the City. It's pretty good." They found a very good central person. Like the Kershell of this show is very New York and very good, and I like her. Great to have Steve Gold back on my TV. And that's kind of it right now. I mean, I feel like I'm watching 7 shows on Bravo right now. I literally have a list on my phone.
I know. By the way, we didn't talk Below Deck. We didn't talk. Yeah, I'm watching all these. I mean, they have
Sex Lives of College Girls is having a good season 3. I don't know if you watched that. It's a great little show. I'm watching The Penguin because it got some awards.
I'm a
Penguin.
Comic book nerd. I want to recommend to you guys Deal or No Deal Island. It's on its 2nd season. Yeah. Joe Manganiello is the host. I did not watch the first season, but I've been doing exit interviews. They just with the people that are getting kicked off. And so I watched it. If you're looking for another competition reality show, it's actually pretty good. Like I know that's weird to say.
On this season?
Parvati is on this season, and there are some special surprises and things like that. So right now, after this interview, you are going to hear our exit interview with the first person that got kicked off of Deal or No Deal Island. It's just a quick 12-minute exit interview, but it might get you turned on to a new show that you can stream on Peacock, and it airs on Tuesdays on NBC. Gibson John's Gabbing with Gibb, 5-star review. That's what I'm asking. I love you, dude. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm thinking of you and everybody there, and hope your recovery continues to go well, but also that you just remain safe, because that's really what matters the most. So I appreciate you having me, but your safety is what is really tantamount. So just thinking of everybody out there. Yeah.
Thanks, man.